You ever feel like trying to keep up with the share market is just, well, relentless? One minute you think you've got a grip, the next, boom, a load of news hits.
Absolutely, it moves so fast.
So consider this your quick guide. We've done a deep dive into the latest buzz, including a really detailed YouTube video in Tamil to sort of pull out what really matters.
Yeah, cut through the noise a bit.
Our mission today, simple, really. Extract the key financial and market updates from that video and figure out what they actually mean for, you.
Okay, but first things first, there was a really important disclaimer right at the start of that video we looked at.
Yes. Good point.
The speaker made it clear they're not a SEBI-registered advisor.
Hmm.
And this is crucial. Nothing we talk about today is a stock recommendation, no buy or sell advice.
Exactly. It's purely for information, educational purposes only.
Right. Investing always carries risk. You need to remember that. And, if you're ever unsure, definitely talk to a registered financial professional. That's always the best bet.
Couldn't agree more. We're just here to unpack what's being discussed, not give financial advice. Okay, so let's kick things off with the market action on May 8th. How did things look?
Well, on May 8th, the Nifty actually closed a bit lower, down by 0.6%.
Okay, a slight dip. But what about the big players, the institutional investors?
Right, that's where it gets interesting. We saw a bit of a split. The foreign institutional investors, the FIIs,
The overseas funds.
exactly, they were actually net buyers.
Yeah.
Bought a hefty euro 2,400 crore worth and sold only about 400 crore. So they put quite a bit in net-net.
Wow, okay, so they were buying despite the Nifty falling. What about the domestic institutions, the DIIs?
Well, they were on the other side of the trade. The DIIs, the Indian funds, insurance companies, etc., they bought 2,700 crore but sold 3,300 crore.
So they were net sellers, a difference of about, what, 600 crore?
Precisely, a net sell of 600 crore. So you had foreign money coming in even as the index dipped, while domestic money was, on balance, heading out.
That is interesting. What do you make of that? FIIs buying into a falling market. Any signals there?
It could mean a few things, couldn't it? Maybe they see longer-term value, or perhaps they're just allocating funds based on a broader strategy, less reactive to the day's dip than maybe some domestic players taking profits.
Yeah, could be. Definitely something to keep an eye on. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Geopolitics often plays a role, right? There were some reports concerning India and Pakistan.
Yes, there were news reports circulating about heightened tensions, mention of alleged missile attacks from Pakistan, reportedly intercepted,
Okay.
and then reports of retaliatory actions by India in places like Lahore and Rawalpindi. Now, obviously, this kind of news can create uncertainty.
For sure. Markets generally don't like uncertainty.
Exactly. Historically, such things can impact sentiment, maybe boost defense stocks, but generally add a layer of caution to the overall market, something to be aware of in the background.
Definitely noted. All right, moving to company specifics. May 9th looked like a busy day for quarterly results.
Oh, absolutely. A whole bunch of companies were lined up to announce their numbers.
Who was on the list?
Let's see, Dr. Reddy's Labs, Swiggy, KPR Mill, Bank of India, Manappuram Finance, Infosys, Reliance Power, Shakti Pumps, Relaxo Footwear, Tourism Finance Corp, Navin Fluorine, and Esther Biosciences.
Quite a mix there, so lots of data for investors to digest from those.
Definitely. If you hold any of those, you'd want to dig into those results.
Speaking of results, Asian Paints reported theirs, and they also announced a dividend.
That's right. Asian Paints declared a dividend of 20.55 per share. And the record date, the key date for shareholders, is June 10th.
Okay, 20.55. How did their numbers look for the quarter?
Well, their Q4 consolidated net sales came in at 8,330 crore. That was actually down 4% compared to the same quarter last year.
Down 4%.
And profit. The consolidated net profit for Q4 was 692 crore, and that was a pretty significant drop, down 45% year-on-year.
Wow, 45%. That's quite a hit. What about the full year?
For the full financial year, consolidated net sales were 797 crore, which is a 5% decrease year-on-year, and the consolidated profit after tax for the year, down 27%.
So a dividend, but the underlying performance, both quarterly and annually, showed a noticeable decline. Interesting.
It is. Rewarding shareholders despite a tougher period.
Okay. Now, another big name, ITC. Their results are still upcoming, right? But there was some other news.
Yes, ITC's results and dividend decision are scheduled for May 22nd, but ahead of that, they actually put out a clarification.
A clarification about what?
There was a news item floating around suggesting issues with some partnership, the OGCBPP one, and also that they'd supposedly withdrawn from a Mumbai High tender.
Right.
ITC came out and said basically that news was incorrect, which is important, to counter any misinformation that might affect the stock.
Good that they cleared that up quickly. Okay, let's talk Electra Greentech, formerly OESC. They also had Q4 results and a dividend.
They did. Electra Greentech declared a dividend of 18 per share.
18 per share, and their Q4 performance.
Standalone net profit for Q4 was 251 crore. That was pretty much flat compared to last year.
Okay, flat profit. Revenue.
Revenue saw a bit of a bump. Standalone revenue for the quarter was 430 crore, up 6% year-on-year.
All right, so revenue up, profit steady for the quarter. How about the full year for Electra?
For the full year, standalone net profit was 1,250 crore, which is a nice 16% increase year-on-year.
That's solid growth.
And standalone revenue for the year hit 187 crore, up 5% compared to the previous year. So decent growth overall, especially on the profit side for the full year.
Good momentum there. Now, order wins are always a positive sign. We saw a couple of those announced.
Absolutely. Always good to see new contracts coming in. Innovators Package Systems bagged an order worth 49 crore.
From who?
From Episode Tech Park Private Limited in Karnataka. And also, Kuchil Technologies got an 18 crore order from the IFS Research and Innovation Council.
Nice. Suggests a healthy pipeline for them.
Definitely points towards future revenue.
And then there was just a flood of dividend announcements, wasn't there? Harsha Engineers, Canara Bank.
Forward Forge, Sula Vineyards, Andhra Paper.
Yeah, quite a few. Let's quickly run through them. Harsha Engineers.
1 per share dividend. The record date is August 29th.
Okay. Canara Bank.
Canara Bank declared €4 per share. Record date June 13th. And importantly for Canara Bank, they also reported a strong Q4 profit, 54 crore, up 33% year-on-year.
That's a good jump.
And they managed to bring down their bad loans too. Both gross and net non-performing assets, or NPAs, decreased significantly. That's a really healthy sign for a bank.
Definitely. Lower MPAs mean better asset quality. What about Hart Forge?
Hart Forge announced €6 per share dividend. Now, looking at their Q4 numbers, according to CNBC TV18 data, revenue was 2,163 crore, down 7% year-on-year. And net profit was 383 crore, down 11% year-on-year.
So a bit softer on both revenue and profit for Hart Forge in Q4, despite the dividend?
Seems that way, yes.
Okay. Sula Vineyards. They had a dividend, too.
Yes. Sula declared 3.60 per share. Record date is May 23rd. They actually highlighted achieving record revenue from operations for both the quarter and the full year.
Record revenue. Okay, what were the numbers?
Q4 revenue from operations was 133 crore, which was up just 1% year-on-year. But their Q4 profit after tax was 13 crore, actually down 4% year-on-year.
So record revenue, but a slight dip in Q4 profit.
Exactly. But for the full year, it looked better. Full year revenue from operations hit of 619 crore, up 2%, and the full year profit after tax was 70 crore. That's a solid 25% jump year-on-year.
Okay, so a strong full year overall for Sula, despite that little Q4 profit slip. And Andhra Paper?
Andhra Paper announced a dividend of 1 per share.
Right. We also had Genus Power Infrastructures and Tube Investments of India reporting, again based on CNBC TV18 data, both with dividends.
Correct. Genus Power declared 1 per share. Their Q4 net profit came in at 870 crore, up 11% year-on-year, and that was actually better than the analyst's poll estimate.
Beating estimates is always good. Revenue.
Revenue was 1,347 crore, a nice 20% increase, though just slightly below the estimate. Still, strong growth.
And Tube Investments.
Tube Investments of India announced 3 per share dividend, record date June 3rd. Their Q4 net profit was impressive. 5,497 crore, up 25% year-on-year, also beating the poll estimate.
Wow, 25% jump.
Revenue was 492 crore, up 11%, just a tad below the estimate. But get this, their full-year revenue crossed 2.55 lakh crore. That's up 16% year-on-year.
Huge number.
And full-year consolidated profit after tax, 537 crore. Up 15%. So really strong performance, particularly from Tube Investments.
Definitely some solid results there. We also heard about companies making moves for future growth, like acquiring land.
Yeah, a couple of those. Brigade Enterprises picked up some land in Bangalore. They're planning a premium commercial project there, eyeing potential revenue of around 2,000 crore. That's a big ambition.
Signals confidence in that market.
For sure. And Havells India acquired 50 acres in Uttar Pradesh from the Yamuna Expressway Authority. They're planning to set up an electronics manufacturing plant there. More manufacturing capacity coming online. Good signs. Now, Z Entertainment, their results were out, according to NDTV Profit, and something stood out about their profit.
Oh, absolutely. Z declared a dividend of 2.43 per share. Their consolidated revenue was 284 crore, up just 1% year-on-year, pretty flat.
Okay, flat revenue, but the profit.
The net profit was the real story. 188 crore, compared to just 13.4 crore in the same quarter last year. Well, the percentage increase is massive. A third 346%.
1,300%. That's an incredible turnaround.
It really is a dramatic improvement in profitability for Z.
Okay. Switching to the banking sector again, some news from Bank of India, not results this time.
No, this was about asset classification.
Yeah.
Bank of India declared an account belonging to Future Lifestyle Fashions as fraudulent.
Ah, okay. How much was involved?
The outstanding dues were around 319 crore. It was already a non-performing asset, a bad loan, basically, and now they've formally tagged it as fraud, part of the cleanup process for banks. Right, identifying and dealing with those problematic accounts. And in the pharma space, Lupin got some good news.
Yes, positive news from the U.S. Lupin received approval from the U.S. FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, for a drug used in HIV treatment.
Okay, an approval. Where will they make it?
It's going to be manufactured at their plant in Nagpur. That approval opens up the U.S. market for that particular drug, which is obviously significant for Lupin.
Good news for them. Looking ahead slightly, Bajaj Auto's results are still to come.
That's right. Bajaj Auto is set to release Q4 results and announce any dividend on May 29th. So one to watch later this month.
And Union Bank of India, they did report their Q4 numbers.
They did. Union Bank showed a net profit of 985 crore, a very strong 51% increase year on year.
Another bank with solid profit growth.
Yeah. And their net interest income, the core earning from lending, was 514 crore, up 8.8%. Plus, like Canara Bank, they also improved their asset quality, reducing both gross and net NPAs compared to the previous quarter.
More positive signals from the banking sector then. What about MCX, the multi-commodity exchange?
MCX announced a pretty substantial dividend, €30 per share.
30, okay. And their results?
Also strong, Q4 net profit was 135 crore, up 54% year on year. And revenue jumped significantly too, up 61% to 291 crore.
Seems like a good quarter for MCX. We also saw RateGain Travel Technologies secure a new deal.
Yes, they've won a new contract from Cyprus Airways. No details on the value or duration were given, but a new client win is always positive.
Okay, now bear with us. There were even more dividends announced, a real flurry. Let's quickly cover Aptech, Ono Minda.
Asahi Songwon Colors, Pidilite, Poonawalla FinCorp, REC Limited, Kalyan Jewelers, Jindal Stainless, Lakshmi Electrical, Mayer Uniquarters. Yeah, quite the list.
Let's tick them off. Aptech.
4.50 per share dividend.
Ono Minda. That's Electra Green Tech related, right?
Yeah, Ono Minda, part of the group. They're setting up a new plant in Haryana. It's for two-wheeler alloy wheels, capacity of 1.5 million wheels a year. Big investment, around 200 crore. Expected to start operations Q2 2027.
Okay, that's a future growth story. Asahi Songwon Colors dividend.
1.50 per share.
Pidilite, the Fevicol folks.
Right. They declared 20 per share dividend. Their Q4 net profit was 427 crore, up a healthy 41% year on year, but actually slightly below the CNBC TV18 poll estimate.
Low estimates, okay. Revenue.
Revenue was 141 crore, up 8%, also just a touch below the estimate. So good growth, but maybe not quite what analysts were hoping for.
Got it. Poonawalla FinCorp.
Their profit apparently doubled. Net profit 344 crore compared to 135 crore same time last year. Revenue up 13% to 417 crore. Strong numbers.
Doubled profit. Wow. REC Limited.
A very generous dividend from REC 26 per share. Their Q4 net profit was 436 crore, up 6% year on year. And net interest income showed a really strong jump, up 38% to 877 crore.
26 dividend is substantial. Kalyan Jewelers.
28.50 per share dividend. They reported a good quarter two net profit of 287 crore, up 36%, and revenue at 681 crore, also up 36%. Strong growth there.
Consistent growth on both lines. Jindal Stainless.
2 per share dividend. Their full year numbers showed consolidated revenue up 2% to 302 crore, but profit after tax was down 7% to 2,500 crore.
Full year profit down. Q4.
Q4 looked better. Consolidated net revenue up 8% to 98 crore, and profit after tax up 18% to 190 crore. So a stronger end to the year.
Okay. And Lakshmi Electrical Control Systems.
4 per share dividend.
And Mayer Uniquarters.
5 per share dividend for them.
Phew. Okay, that's a lot of dividends. Signals confidence from boards, generally.
Often does, yeah. Sharing the wealth with shareholders.
We also had a couple more order wins to mention. Advite Infratech and JAG Logistics.
Correct. Advite Infratech secured a 7.4 crore contract in Gujarat from Gujarat Gas Private Limited.
Okay. And Jaguar Logistics. They used to be Jackson's prepaid ocean
That's
services,
the
right?
one. They won a 3-year contract from Grant Thornton. The value wasn't disclosed, but a multi-year contract is usually good news.
Definitely. And AstraZeneca Pharma India had some regulatory news.
Yes, they got approval from the Indian authorities to import and distribute a drug used for certain types of breast cancer treatment. Another step in bringing treatments to the market here.
Right. Now, an interesting, perhaps slightly concerning piece of news regarding Gensol Engineering.
Yes, this is quite significant. SEBI, the market regulator, has appointed a forensic accountant and investigator
Forensic audit? Why?
to conduct a forensic audit of Gensol Engineering's financial statements. It covers the fiscal years 2022-23, 23-24, and the current one, 24-25.
That sounds serious. Investors will be watching that closely.
Absolutely. A forensic audit by SEBI is a major development for any company.
Okay. And just quickly touching on the global picture, an update from the Bank of England.
Yes, according to the source material, the Bank of England cut its interest rate. Just a small trim, though,
How much?
down by 0.05%, bringing the rate to 4.25%.
Okay, 4.25%. Got it. Finally, let's wrap up with a look at specific stock movements from May 7th. The ones that saw big price changes, coupled with unusually high trading volume.
Right, these high-volume movers can sometimes indicate strong investor interest or conviction. On the gainers side,
Who are the big winners with high volume?
Dunseri Ventures led the pack, up 17% on massive volume, 370% higher than usual. Shrine Pistons and Rings jumped 14%, volume up nearly 700%. Quality Pharmaceuticals rose 9%, volume up over 500%.
Huge volume increases there. Any others?
KPR Mill was up 8%, but look at the volume, 3,600% increase. IdeaForge Technology also up 8%, volume up 440%. Asahi Songlan Colors gained 8%, volume surge of over 1,000%. And Creosil up 6%, with volume nearly doubled at 95% increase.
Wow, KPR mill volume is extraordinary. Now, on the other side, the losers that saw heavy trading.
Avalon Technologies fell 7%, with volume up 355%. DB Corp down 6%, volume up nearly 600%. Signiti Technologies also down 6%, volume up 445%. Siemens lost 4%, volume up over 300%. Blue Star also down 4%, volume up 565%. And Adani Green Energy fell 4%, with volume up 412%.
So significant selling pressure seen in those names, particularly CCL products with that volume spike.
Seems likely, yes.
Okay, wow, that was a lot to cover. We've gone from the Nifty's dip and that FTSE split through geopolitical murmurs, a massive wave of earnings and dividends.
New orders, land deals, regulatory news like the Gensol audit, global rate moves, and those high-volume stock shifts.
It really highlights just how much information is constantly hitting the market, doesn't it? Trying to synthesize it all is, well, a challenge.
It really is. You get these individual data points, a good earnings report here, a dividend cut there, and order win somewhere else.
So here's a thought to leave you with. We've seen a real mix, right? Lots of companies posting decent, even strong results, plenty of dividends being paid out, yet the overall market, the Nifty, was down on the day we focused on, and we saw that domestic selling.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mixed picture.
So what does that tell you? Considering this blend, the positive company news versus maybe some broader caution or profit taking, what's your gut feel about the current state of the Indian market? Are these individual bright spots enough, or does the overall sentiment feel a bit more cautious right now? How do these pieces fit together for you? Something to mull over.